if I asked you the question, can you ever truly forgive? You choose to remain with this person that cheated on you. Can you really truly ever forgive?
Did you push record?
Thanks so much for tuning in to Second Act TV. I want to welcome Dr. Gary Salyer back for one more segment talking love and relationships after 50. Gary, thanks for joining me again.
Thank you.
I have, yeah, I have to really thank you because we were done. We just recorded 3 segments. We'll link to those. Some great conversations about finding love, solving relationship conflict, etc. And then we were talking off camera. And I thought, gosh, this is too good not to even get on camera, or important anyway. And that is, I asked you, as we were talking about the relationship conflict one, how does one really ever get over infidelity? You know, when you were cheated on. And I've said on other segments, and I'll be perfectly honest here, or transparent, my 25-year marriage started off with lots of red flags that I didn't heed, and it messed me up for a long time. And I think that I share that with a lot of viewers. So let's talk about that. Can you ever really get over, or how do you ever really leave that behind so it doesn't affect a new relationship?
Yes. And let's just be honest. It's, by the time we've all gotten to our 50s, barring those that had the perfect marriage in their 50s, if you've been divorced and you've dated around, you've probably experienced this. We know that a recent study showed that in new relationships with people more in the millennial generation, in the first 5 years, 50% of one or the other partner will cheat on the other. Now, they did it more with younger generations, right? And this study did. And what they found is in the first 5 years, that 50% of couples experienced infidelity, new couples. And that was regardless of the partners that was starting the affair, equal opportunity employers between men and women, and whether they were hetero or non-hetero, lesbian or gay. Pretty much so our chances of having that severe pain, and it's such a betrayal, and that's what it is betrayal. It's someone leveraging their interest at our cost. And that affects trust. So it's hugely hurtful. And what's important, there's 2 ways of looking at it, is a lot of times these signs were there. They were there. What part of us didn't have the right for more secure relationship? And the other big thing is healing ourselves of that wound, because when we go into our next relationship and we are looking for that pain and we are plastering it on somebody else, it is grossly unfair. They will not feel loved. And what we're really doing is kind of passing the abuse on, And so it's important to release this so the next doesn't pay for the ex, so to speak. And it is a deep process of getting over that, realizing that not everybody's a cheater, and we tend to generalize all men, all women. And I'll be honest, a long time ago, I had a relationship in which there wasn't an affair. And I remember generalizing. I know, why would I generalize? I don't know. The brain just does that. And I'm talking to my therapist. She's a woman. And I made the reference to all women. And she goes, some women. And some women. And after, and it took and I realized about after 3 months, this is grossly unfair. I didn't cheat. What if I'd been, and I said that to her, she goes, hallelujah. It's not fair. Yes, it occurs. To find out what missing feeling, did you just not have a right to feel cherished? Or did you just not have more right to be disempowered, to fix that feeling? Because a lot of times those clues were there. Like, for instance, we know that if somebody tends to to take a lot of risk and they like a lot of new experiences, if you put high risk and new experiences, those people are way more predisposed to do cheating. So if you find someone who loves to just jump off planes on a plane, and then and they love that, you love the daredevil, that daredevil that you thought was so much fun doing a skydive on the spur of a moment, it might delve into bed with somebody else too. So the clues are there to do the deep work, find out what feelings you were ignoring, give yourself a right for a better one, and to truly release that. The world, all of us have been betrayed. And how do you choose someone that really would never do that? And there are sometimes too, because I deal with couples, I've seen, because the bad relationship dynamics, somebody was driven to seek comfort and solace. And that's the other part of it too. We have to sometimes look. I've had at ourselves, I've had two couples over the years in which after about 8 years, a woman had an affair and a man had an affair. In both instances, the spouse wasn't sleeping with them, but they got all righteous. Well, say in a relationship, somebody just never makes sure the other one has, is usually a man with a woman, she's never having orgasms. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly, now that doesn't make it right, but this can get complicated in real time. But the point is allowing ourselves to heal enough that we don't pass it on and we don't take it. As I said in my book, a secure love style gives no BS and takes no BS. And the next, it's natural to defend ourselves, to look out for that pain because it's soul searing, but that next person doesn't deserve it. And to make sure your picker has the right feelings, so you're picking up on the clues and you say no to those who are more predisposed, so the next person is worthy of your trust and you are worthy of theirs.
Let me ask you this. It's one thing about, getting over and working on it. If I asked you the question, can you ever truly forgive? Like if, you go to therapy or whatever, or you choose to remain with this person that cheated on you. Can you really truly ever forgive?
You can, but there's all sorts of dynamics here, right? There's a difference between characterological cheaters that, you find out they've been cheating for 25 people every year, okay, that's a whole different animal than somebody who has an affair because something was off in the relationship, okay? But if there was that, then you have to acknowledge what actually, and they have to really be repentant, okay? So there has to be atonement. They have to really be sorry. I mean, they have to cry. is what it looks like. I heard one woman say, "I'm not believing it until he cries." Right. And then there has to be attunement. Right. You have to start understanding what each other's real needs are. And then there can be reattachment. And I don't use the word forgiveness so much. I think it's possible. I talk about dropping the charges. At some point in time, you give up the grievance. Now, if this thing repeats, that's a different thing. If it was, somebody that this was 20 years, I mean, barring some really deep work, I don't know that I trust that. But most cheating that I've dealt with and the couples that I've dealt with, it was, yes, it could have been a year or two, but it was not a characterological. That is more easy than someone who just has some real issues with commitment, okay? In that case, you can forgive them, but you may want to let them go as well because you deserve better than that. Does that answer the question?
No. Yes. No. It does. It does answer it. It's just a very complicated topic. I think. And can anybody? Okay, here's one other question. Actually, as a man and as a therapist.
Answer real quick. The real healing is you find out what feeling. Usually, the feeling that will come up is the one that comes childhood or another relationship, and it's like a something being stuck in your eye. It's a lot of times we can't forgive because it's an old wound, and you can't forgive until that feeling is not so active, but it's being activated because it was a childhood wound. There was an old scene in an old movie called The Philadelphia Experiment, but not the one with Tom Hanks, where they had an experiment in 1944 where a radar turned a ship invisible, and they had to shut it down because really bad things happened. But then the mad scientist tries to do it 40 years later. And this time he can't shut down the experience, and he doesn't know why. Because in time, the other experience had never been shut down. And they had to send somebody back in time to shut it down. So everything calms down. When people can't forgive in a moment, a lot of times it's because they have that old wound is still running. It's still saying, telling your brain, how can I look out for never having my needs met? How can I look out for betrayal? And so long as that's up and running, it's hard to forgive. You have to go and heal the original wound that got poked in the eye again, so to speak, by the affair. Then you can when that shuts down, then you can forgive. Until that, they'll say things like, I can forgive, but I'll never forget.
For me, because I do that, this still is a topic where I'm just so glad to be out of that. I don't know that I would repair, and that's something where I always obviously have to work on that. What I think, especially with this segment, what I want to leave people with is when you do get into that new relationship, that you become aware and not sabotage it because of bringing old experiences into what is, about something that hasn't even happened, or that you ruined something wonderful because of the past. And a lot of my anger was associated with that, and I had to work on that. Silka, stop it! This is not happening. That it's all good. So with that, Gary, we're already at the end again. Thank you for going here with me, because I think it's an important topic. Is there anything else that you want to add before we close out?
Yeah, when it comes to affairs, there's a lot of deep work that can happen. Healing can happen, and it's about trust. Because when an affair happens, it's like the laws of gravity just blew up and your world got blown up. It is about trust, and you have a right to, if you can work it through with that partner, fine. But you also have a right, if it's character logical, to leave and find someone who truly loves you. And it's also way important not to make our next pay for our ex. It's just so unfair. And this is the hard part about loving in the human mind. We get hurt, and our brain looks out for hurt in ways that hurt others. And that's why if we heal these feelings in our attachment systems, we do that a whole lot better. It's the best way to love another, is to love ourselves in that way. Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much. We will link to all of your information, to your website, to your book, Safe to Love Again. And I look forward to talking with you again soon on Second Act TV.
Thank you.
If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. The button is right over here. Just click on through to YouTube, and when you see the little bell right next to the subscribe button, hit that too. We'll notify you every time we launch a new video. See you next time.